Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here on Share Talk for Friday, the 16th of April. Starting off with Anemoi, where there's a bit of a sort of a review of the initial call here. I was looking for the rising trend channel drawn from the end of October to hit for the shares to hit 15 pence, but having had another sort of reflection, it could be that the shares are heading up towards a December resistance line, currently promising us a target as high as 21 pence as soon as the end of next month. But I suppose we've got to see how the rather overbought shares at the moment cool off, or at least consolidate ahead of that. But at the moment, up to 21 pence, while we hold above, I suppose one would say the 5 pence area, because that was the late March resistance for the shares. But see if we can tighten up that stop loss as well down the line. Onto a stock which I've looked at a while back, but it seems to be back again now. Botswana Diamonds. Here it's a rather messy picture in the near term, but looking at the bigger picture, seems that there has been a recovery here from back in the first quarter of last year. Top of the channel there, or broadening triangle, is heading for 1.5, 1.6 pence, and we're assuming now that with the near-term moving averages all rising at the moment, that there will be a breakout imminently. And if we can see a breakout through a penny over the next week or so, then 1.5 pence could be seen as soon as the end of next month for Botswana Diamonds. Looking on to Chaarat, which I've given some coverage of late here. The reason for including it today is that we're just close to the resistance line there from December. That was promising us a target as high as 32 pence. Above 32 pence, so if we can get that on a weekly close basis, either this week or next week, then we'd be looking for a top of broadening or a rather wide rising trend channel from back in 2017 as high as 45 pence as soon as the end of June. But decent directive buying there as well of late seems to be pushing the share price in the right direction. Good to see a stock which is in the gold area. I suppose at the moment we've had a few weeks or months, or I suppose a few weeks at least, of gold being on the back foot, but it looks like gold is back now. So Galantas in focus now, and the view here is that we're still building on that falling wedge break from the beginning of February, and while we hold above the 15 pence area, looking for further moves to the upside. At this stage, probably looking for a top of top of October trend channel target as high as 25 pence over the next few weeks for Galantas. Big picture target here over maybe the next 2 to 3 months as high as 35 to 37 pence, which is the top of the broader price channel from back in May last year. But above 15 up to 35 is a best case scenario for that stock. Always good to see stocks which are being bashed or have been bashed by the bears. So here we've got Iconic Labs, nice break through the 200-day moving average, 0.01, and the view is that weekly close above that could take the shares on to the long promised destination at 0.03 plus, which we were hoping might turn up back in August and September, but that was only done briefly. So hopefully on this occasion we will see a sustained move towards that area. The big plus point here, though, was the end of day close back above the top of the gap at the beginning of February. That was the start of the rally here, was signaled the start of a rally here, 0.006, and at least that has worked, albeit slowly, for Iconic Labs. Less fraught situation coming up next, one that has its fans. Here we've got I-Nexus Global, and here the message is that above that old peak from February, around 8.5 pence on a weekly close basis, which is what we looks like we'll get now. We're going to head up towards the top of the rising trend channel from May last year, as high as 14 pence by the end of next month. So looking quite sharp in terms of the price action there at the moment. Quite a decent situation. Moving on to Itaconics, which has been a favorite here for quite some time. Here we've got a great breakout of the last couple of sessions, breaking that old January peak, 8.2 pence. The longer we stay above 8.2 pence, the more we're looking, or the greater the chance of a move towards 15 pence by the end of next month. So hopefully the shares will copy the move that we saw from December going into mid-January over the near term. So hopefully by the end of next month, near 15 pence. A stock which is more of a slow burner, I suppose, than Itaconix is Jaywing, but here we've had a breakout as well, so breaking through that old February peak at 11.5 pence. And while we're above that, looking for a best case scenario target as high as 25 pence by the end of June. Hopefully the shares will start accelerating, so the end of June may be the latest that we see 25 pence rather than any other particular date. On to a stock which has been requested, and I can understand why. I'm sure that many of Mode Global's fans were hoping that the shares would rush up higher with the recent rise in Bitcoin. So far, though, it's not to be. We do have a support line here from back in December running through at 48. So ideally, there's no break back below that level to end the week. If we can hold above that, then we could say that the shares are in a range between the upper 40s and the low 60s. Rather than a risk of breaking down. If the numbers do add up for Mode, which I'm sure they will, then the top of the channel from October last year is up to 90 pence, and that would follow hopefully quite quickly if there was a sustained move through the 50-day moving average, currently at 56 pence. But everything at the moment dependent on 48 holding over the near term. Onto a stock which I hadn't really looked at before, but it was brought to my attention by one of my favorite Twitterati, who normally gets it right. Here we've got Quicksand, great candle today, opening at the low and so far at the high of the day, which is always nice to see. The view is that while there's no end of day close back below today's £1.30 low, we could see Quicksand up as high as £1.80 by the end of next month. So looking very chirpy indeed at the moment for the shares. At this stage, only well below the 50-day line and the floor of the channel at £1.25, really delaying the upside scenario. Now a stock which I covered before, and obviously it's a great private investor favorite, SYME Capital. I'm just including it today, not particularly for the reason that there's any great technicals going on, although it's not too bad, just because it was commented that last time I covered the stock it sounded like I was crying, which I didn't actually notice that that was the case, but there you go. Current situation. 2+ points for fans of SYME. One is that it looks like we bounced off that support line there from August, which looks like the floor of a rising trend channel from the summer. Top of the channel up to 0.8 while we hold above 0.3, so that's relatively simple. And it's very good today to see the shares of the price action wholly above the 200-day moving average at 0.385. We're almost all above that level. If we get a decent weekly close above the 200-day line, I think that would be a plus for SYME Capital, and maybe hasten the time at which it will head back up to the top of the range. Just a couple of stocks to go now. One is a well-followed stock, as you'll probably gather when you see it. United Oil and Gas. Here we've got a situation where we had the spike and came back to so far retest former resistance, that old resistance in November around 0.23, the low today 0.22, so there's been a slight resistance support overlap. But while we remain above 0.23, looking for a partial or even full retest of the spike highs of last week at 0.45 pence plus. If you're a fan of the stock and looking for greater highs, then possibility of 0.65 or 0.7 at a November resistance line projection while we hold above 0.23. And final stock of the day is one which started moving yesterday and looked encouraging, Wishbone Gold. Here you can see that, or you will be able to see that the shares have managed to rebound off the floor of a rising trend channel from August. They've also today broken that resistance line from February, which is why I've included the shares, the stock in the Bulletin Board Heroes for a second day running. A weekly close above the 50-day line at 13.5 pence should finally give us our 20 plus pence plus target, as high as 22 or even 23 pence by the end of next month. Upside valid while we hold above 10 pence, so above 10, looking for 22, 23 on Wishbone Gold. That's it for me today. More updates over the weekend.